touched on this probably about 6 weeks ago, about how, like, the importance of sleep and your immunity and stuff. So I've made some notes and I've gone a little bit more in depth about and so the hills are here, yay, good. A little bit more in depth about, you know, why, the science, and it might just kind of make you go, oh, it kind of makes sense. So hopefully I can just help with that today. And I really want to know if you've got any questions, because I just love the sciencey stuff, and just understanding why you might feel certain ways around the way that you sleep and stuff. And that doesn't mean whether you sleep on your side or your front. So basically, I'm going to tell you about the importance of getting to sleep on time, and in certain, like at certain times in your time zone. So it's important that it's the time zone that you live in, and sometimes, you know, if you move time zones and you live somewhere else, it can kind of really be hard to change to another time zone. But we'll go into that another time. So years before we had lights, technology, electrical stuff, like we used to sleep in sync with light and dark. Okay, so you see, like, the farmers would farm in different ways in the winter, and they'd come home and have shorter days in the winter, and they used to literally work by the light. All right, so we slept in sync with light and dark cycles, and our physiology hasn't changed. When humans existed thousands of years ago, the light told them when to wake up, and then it'd get dark and they'd go to bed. So, but now we're kept awake unnaturally by with the availability of electronics and gadgets and things that are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So if you are experiencing any of the following things, lack of focus, like with your schoolwork or in work or any time when you're needing focus, slow recovery from exercise. That means, like, so you may go for a run and really be exhausted at the end of it, not be able to catch your breath, etc. Sorry, Instagram people, you were paused because Alicia's battery nearly died. If you have problems with your skin, headaches, aches and pains, general fatigue, like feeling tired and exhausted all the time, and you're waking feeling tired, then you're probably experiencing problems due to lack of sleep or sleeping at the wrong times for your body. And yeah, often these symptoms can be caused by a disruption of your circadian cycle. Okay. So right, so your circadian cycle, I'll go into depth with that later. So, and you're probably having sleep deprivation if you're experiencing any of those symptoms. So the latest you should be going to sleep is about 10:30. Now you might go, whoa, I'm a bit of a night owl, I can't do that. So I'm going to set you a bit of a task. I want to get you, first of all, to write down any of those areas that you feel you can relate to. So if it's lack of focus, I'll read them out again. Lack of focus, slow recovery from exercise, it could be aches and pains, muscles, etc. Skin changes, headaches, aches and pains, general fatigue, and waking feeling tired. Write them down, and then I want you to give them a number out of 10, with 1 being not good at all and 10 being the best, optimal, best they can be. All right, in each area. And then I want you to, if you can, for a week, go to bed before 10:30. Go to sleep, that means go actually to sleep by 10:30, and get 8 hours of sleep at least. So we need to be making sure we're getting 8 hours of sleep. I'm going to give you a reason behind this and the science behind it after. But it's just a little test, because then in a week's time I'm going to continue this about sleep. I want you to then reflect on how you're feeling in each of those areas and give yourself another mark out of 10 and see if there's any improvement. So you need to be able to work out how you're getting to that number. Okay, so you kind of work out what 1 to 10 would be. All right, Jack. Hey, Jack. Yeah, Jack's always in bed by 10, so she won't have a problem with this. Make sure, you kind of work out if what number 1 would be, what number 5 would be, what number 10 would be, and you can kind of work out where you're at. So that's what I want you to do. So your natural sleep-wake cycle are due to the effects of light and dark. All right, so it has influence over your physiology, and it does over all life in nature. All right, so you see animals are affected by light and dark. They'll be affected too. So light stimulates the skin and your eyes and releases hormones. Okay, so it doesn't matter what source the light comes from, if it's coming from a gadget or if it's coming from the sun, it doesn't know any difference. So your brain and your hormonal system think, whoa, it's morning. Doesn't matter what time of day that is. You're ready to wake up. Come on, we've got to get going. And the hormonal system releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone. That gets released into your system, which is it's the hormone that works for movement, going to work, going into combat, anything that is needed for survival. Cortisol is useful for this. Okay. So when cortisol is released into your body, cortisol is useful if you are needing to do those things. But let me give you an example. I had frozen shoulder for about 7 years, and I in the end went and said, I can't deal with this anymore, I need something. And I don't really take medications, but I resorted to having a hydrocortisone injection into my shoulder, and that's cortisol. Now, the way that reacted I had a good tracker of how it affected my hormones because of being diabetic. So diabetes is a hormonal issue. So insulin is released by your pancreas, and it's a hormone. Okay, so it affects all of your hormones in the endocrine system. They all affect each other. So I had this cortisol injection, and for around a year I was taking probably 3 times the amount of insulin I ever had to take. Now, when you bear in mind that people say that when you take steroids or any other kind of hormone medication, people tend to put on a bit of weight. Now, if I explain to you that insulin is the fat storage hormone, now my blood sugars shot up and I couldn't get them to come down no matter how much insulin I would take. So I'm pumping more insulin into my body. Now, as an ordinary person without diabetes, your body would be doing that and releasing more and more insulin to, work with the sugar in your blood and converting it all to fat, which explains why when they say that steroids can cause weight gain or hormone treatment can cause weight gain, they all affect each other. Okay, so just to give you an idea, if you're having weight issues, get your sleep in. Okay, it's so important. It can be down to your sleep cycles are not settled enough. Okay, so that's just, I digress. So our body, as far as our bodies understand, when light comes in, you've got to get up, you've got to get working, you've got to fight or flight or whatever, you're gonna be getting up and it's daytime. All right, so fire, even before fire was used in our lives, the only way our body regulated itself as far as sleep and wake cycles was by the sun. So our body still understands, our physiology still goes back to those thousands and thousands of years ago. Light equals sunshine, equals cortisol release, equals daytime activities. So 6 to 9 a.m, you've got the rise and peaks of your cortisol. 9 to 12 midday, your cortisol remains high to support your daily activities. And then from 12 onwards, your cortisol levels start to drop. That allows the release of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. And it increases your levels of growth and repair hormones, which is why you may start feeling pain, because you're not releasing the hormones that are your repair. So your natural sleep cycle means that we start winding down as the sun sets. Okay, so as the afternoon goes on, you start to wind down, which is why you might sometimes have that mid-afternoon slump. You're starting to kind of get tired. You may have had loads of sugars and have a crash from that as well. And that's kind of double loading it. So getting to sleep before sort of like 10:30, so important, because as I've said before, your physical repair takes place from 10 to 2 p.m. This is why you're so healthy and well, Jack, you see. And your immune repair, or your mental or psychogenic repair, happens from 2 a.m. right through until you wake up. They say 2 to 6 a.m. because you should be having 8 hours of sleep. 10 till 6 is 8 hours, but if you can have more than that, great. You don't have too much. You won't get nothing done. So that was some information that I wanted to get pass on to you today, if you didn't already know that. But it really interests me, because that's why I look like this, so tired all the time, because I have disrupted sleep due to that wonderful little monster I have called Amber. So next week I'm going to go on to the effects of disrupted sleep wake cycles and adrenal fatigue. All right, so your adrenals are really important. They fire up also, don't they, when cortisol's released. So as I said, do this challenge for me. Try to get yourselves to sleep before 10:30 if you can, by 10. Do it for a week. Make note, first of all, even if it's take photographs of your skin if the skin's an issue, and then in a week's time see if there's any improvement in that. Obviously hormones can affect this also. It's about getting everything right. This is one little area of your health that can improve your immunity. So make notes on how you can gauge improvements in your health, in your mental clarity, all of those things over the next week, and I'd be really interested to hear all about it. All right, so thank you everybody. I've not done a meditation today, but I just wanted to share that all with you, and I'd love to have some feedback. If you didn't quite understand everything that I was talking to you about, then send me a message, because I'd love to help. Lots of love to all of you. Okay.